You're an outside the Beltway. I'm John Fredericks, and I am your blowtorch of free speech in America, your oracle of the deplorables. Well, great to have you with us. How's your cholesterol doing? How's your heart doing? We got to lace them up and lace them tight, man. You got to be ready to go. I need Phill Kline in this game. I need Dave Bratt in the game. I need our players in the game, and I need to stay in the game. My doctor, man, he said, you're a bull. I know. Although they prescribe vitamin D, I take it once a week. I have no idea why. I just said, fine. Soul tea, baby. Among the other things I take a lot of stuff. But the thing about Soul tea is all natural. It's a tea extract. Crom Carmichael invented it. He says he didn't, but he really did. So you did, Crom. Anyway, he's the one that saw it and did it and wanted it. And this is how you take 2 of these a day, and it gets your cholesterol down. And like my blood pressure for my age is perfect. My cholesterol is perfect. Soul tea. It's cheap. I mean, it's a couple bucks, right? But it's a tea extract. All the healthy things you put in your body, they all work together. Certainly for me. And all you have to do for Salty is go to GodzillaHeart.com. That's GodzillaHeart.com. Promo code Godzilla. You're going to get 50% off your first order. So you got to take about 3 months. I take 2 every day in the morning, along with a lot of other stuff I take, my vitamins and things of that nature. But that's how you stay healthy, and that's how you go. People don't understand how I have all this energy. So all these different things, but salty is critical. Now, if you're 28, you don't need it, but you get a little long in the tooth like me. You want to take care of your ticker. You want to take care of that cholesterol. You want your blood pressure to be down, and salty is the way to go. GodzillaHeart.com, promo code Godzilla, get you 50% off your first order. Joining me now, the one and only Phill Kline. Phill is the law professor at Liberty University, former AG Kansas. Phill also is going to be sitting in for me from 8 to 10 on Wednesday. Tyler, Wednesday, November 26th, the day before Thanksgiving. I'm taking off. Killer Carl, 6 to 8. Phill Kline, great to have you with us.
Good to be with you, John. You know, Ann works wonders. You have such a sunny disposition on a cloudy day in Virginia politically. So I think you've hit the nail on the head, as you would say, in what we must do. We've got to roll up our sleeves. And we have a model, John, on how to do it, because the Democrats and progressives.
Did we lose him? You freak. Phil, you keep freezing, baby. You got to get a hard line in there, right? Tyler says he froze because of his Chiefs hat. That might be it. Try to get him back. In the meantime, and I just wanted to hear what he said, something about my sunny disposition. Why wouldn't I have a sunny disposition? I married up. I got a great family. Everybody's healthy. Jack's doing great. Claire's doing great. Ann's doing great. Joe's doing great. Texted me last night. He said he had a great bullpen session and signed a contract with the Kane, New Hampshire Swamp Rats. So he'll be playing for them this summer. So that's where his pitching coach sent him to play this summer. Depends on how many innings he throws during this season, what his availability is. So, Phill, as long as you have the Chiefs hat on, you're going to keep going off the air.
It's a big week for us.
I like what you were saying about sunny disposition. I like that.
Yeah, Ann's worked wonders on you. And it's good to see you ready to engage the battle. And you always are, but this is what it's going to take. And actually, we have a playbook for it, and it's the Democratic Party playbook that they've been executing since about 2002. And we've ignored that. And we've ignored that because the Republican consultant class can't figure out how to make money on it. And that's why we keep these isolated party-oriented or campaign personality-oriented efforts where they have a national structure down to the local level. And they fund vision and talent, and Republican donors fund projects with the vision of about 6 months. We don't have anything to match that.
You know, it's fascinating what you just said, and we're going to have John Finley here in a couple of minutes. You got to stay with us. It's fascinating what you just said, but it's true, right? We haven't built the infrastructure that the Democrats have because the Republican consultants can't make money on it. That's why we don't have one. Think about what he just said. I mean, that's it.
That's right.
I mean, in plain speak, and you're right. They open up a C4. This is going on in Virginia right now. I'm talking to the congressman. Well, we're going to do a C4. Okay, yay. What are you going to do with that? Well, we're going to raise money. We've already got donors all over the country. They want to fight it. Okay, so what are you going to do with the money? Well, we're going to, spend it on digital and text and stuff. Do you have an infrastructure? No, because they can't make money on that. So all your money is going to be spent on text and digital and mail and hopefully radio advertising here. Thank you. TV ads. And they all make 15 or 20%, grifting off the top. And there's still no infrastructure because, as you said, they're funding a project. Brilliant. That's it. Nobody's going to do this.
And John, the organization that was kind of leading the conservative effort was Turning Point, in that they were building relational infrastructure. And that's how the left has done it. They have activists that are engaged directly with voters. They tie in data from cell phones and so forth that are gathered by organizations that were funded and initiated by unions that are expert at being able to micro-target together, and they put somebody on your doorstep a couple of times in each election cycle talking to you about the issues that they know you are concerned about. That will defeat TV advertising every day. And we don't do it. We don't have the model for it. We don't have the infrastructure for it. And again, I believe it's primarily because we haven't figured out, those who are heavily engaged on the Republican haven't figured out how to make money at it. And this has been going on since 2002. Spent well over $6 billion alone donor advisor funds, not including some of the for-profit efforts, not including the union money to build out this infrastructure. And we have nothing to match it. That's why last week I was talking about Winsome Sears lost this election in 2002. She didn't win this election or lose it in 2025. It was the infrastructure that's to Virginia voters.
I mean, she had nothing. We look at the whole apparatus. I mean, they had the RPV, and I forget who was there when. I guess it was the guy that's now Deputy Secretary of the Navy was the chairman. But we won the governorship, and we never built it out. I mean, when McDonnell was there, Bob McDonnell, who's a great guy in Virginia, spent an inordinate amount of his time raising money, and him and Dave Rexroad, who was the executive director of the RPV, they actually constructed a party and an infrastructure and an apparatus, and he raised the money to do that as governor. Well, we never did that 21 to 25, and you saw the result of it in 25, and now we're done. Now you can't ever get the money to do it, right? You could have gotten it when you were there and in charge. Now you can't do it, right?
Yeah, when I first arrived in Virginia, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. When I first arrived in Virginia in 2009 from Kansas, in Kansas, we had seen this, and we started to build an infrastructure where we shared data and information within the Republican Party. But when I arrived in Virginia at that time in 2009, what I soon learned is that all of this effort was very, very personality driven and very tied to individual candidates. And this data was not shared. So there was not a cohesive strategy in Virginia. And in fact, the party had a political infight going on about who they were going to use, what technology they were going to use as it relates to this data. And John, we do not have the type of strategy that the left has. The left has an infrastructure that has been built independent of the party and independent of the personalities of candidates. And we must mirror that. Unless we repeal McCain-Feingold, which I think should happen for a lot of reasons, and that's a whole nother conversation, we must build an infrastructure that is independent of President Trump, independent of the Republican Party, but has a long-term vision for restoring this nation. And so far, I haven't seen the desire or willingness to do that. Everybody that's involved in the game wants their stamp on all of this. Let me give you just one example of the power of the left structure. When we were looking at the 2020 election, and what they've done is they've changed our laws, they've changed the manner in which we manage elections in a way that benefits leftist candidates. And they've done that through an infrastructure of over 700 nonprofits, 700 in election management alone. That's how they do it. They diversify, they fund for vision, and they create careers to change America and radicalize America. We need to do the same to restore America. And we just refuse to do it.
Why? That's the question.
Because people want to get their hand in the pot. People want to get their hand in the pot. Yeah.
Well, you'll answer the why and take calls. 888-480-JOHN for Kline. I'll be right back.